Hello everyone. In this video we will see the concept of multi-threaded issues and then process scheduling thing. So coming to threaded issues, threads like we all know, fork and exe are the system call used to create a process. So to cancelling, we use fork and exe for creating a process. Then we saw how threads are created in Unix, Windows and Java virtual machine. But to cancel, like cancellation of threads or termination of threads before or after completion of task, there is a concept called asynchronous cancellation, where cancel the threads immediately after its execution is over, or deferred cancellation, where the target thread periodically check whether it has been terminated or not. So in asynchronous cancellation, if the thread has finished its work, then the cancellation will be done by the thread itself. In the one more method, deferred cancellation, there will be one target thread which task is to see whether the execution of threads are over, and after execution the thread is cancelled or not. Next is signal handling. So signals are used to notify the process that the particular event which is assigned for the thread is happened or not. This can be done even with two methods. One is synchronous, one is asynchronous. Synchronous is like signal delivers the same program, like what is the illegal memory accessed, divide by zero errors, all these things. In asynchronous, signal is sent to another program with the help all these errors and all are managed using synchronous method because it is mandatory. If it is like user task, then it comes to asynchronous, where signals are sent by the user to the program for task performing. Next is a thread pool, where you have multiple threads in one place, and each server, like if we take an example of server, so what happens, the server will have a thread pool with that. Instead of creating each thread at each request, there will be a thread or like server operating system creating multi-threads and kept. So based on the server get a request from the client, one thread is allocated to the client, and after completion of client's request, the thread will remove from the job and come joins to the thread pool, so that the creation of threads by the operating system will be reduced. Next is thread specific data, where the data of the thread which is not shared with other threads is called as thread specific data. So the most major threads in this library will provide are pthreads, Win32 and Java. So this thread specific data cannot be shared with other threads, so that there won't be any security issues between threads. The basic concepts coming to CPU like process execution is the CPU time and input output time will be scheduled based on the process which is executing. So once the program starts execution, it has multiple tasks to be done. So when the program needs to execute, it will load, add the store, then read the files, then again it may go for input output wait, then store, increment, index, writing a file, then after writing a file it will go for again requesting for input output, then again load, add, read file. For reading a file and writing a file, if we take a Word document as an example, for reading and writing the file, the process will always go to wait for input output request. So maximum CPU utilization obtained with multi-programming is very major thing, where where the process, like if the process go for input output cycle or input output was, the CPU can be utilized for another process at that particular time. When the CPU or when the process which is utilizing CPU or which is under process in the CPU, then we call that as CPU burst. If the process go for wait for input output, then that time period is called as input output burst. So here we have an example where CPU burst and input output burst of one execution. So we have CPU scheduler concept. Since your process will fluctuate between CPU execution and input output execution, we can schedule the CPU based on the time. So we have CPU scheduler called short term scheduler and long term scheduler. In the short term scheduler, the date, like the CPU time, is divided into a smaller response time and allocated with the multiple process. For the response time, the process will be executing, and after the response time exits, the process will be taken away and the new process is scheduled for the CPU. So in short-term scheduler, selected from among the process in ready queue and allocate CPU one after the other from the queue in the order. This CPU scheduling decision may take place with the operating system with many conditions, like switching from running to waiting state, switching from running to ready state, switching from waiting to ready state, and terminate. Coming to scheduling criteria. So scheduling criteria is like it will make CPU utilization so that CPU will be maximum utilized. If at all your process needs to go for wait state, then CPU is given with one more program so that CPU will be utilized as much as possible. Throughput increases because CPU is always utilized, the execution also be maximum. Turnaround time means the amount of time to execute a particular process will increase. Wait time depending upon the scheduling criteria, the amount of time the process sent or the process is waiting in the ready queue is called as waiting time, and response time is a criteria where the amount of time the process is sent or process is utilized in CPU is the response time. Coming back to scheduling algorithm, based on the type of algorithm or type of execution required in operating system, there are multiple scheduling algorithms. The criteria to select these algorithms are maximum CPU utilization, maximum throughput, maximum turnaround time, and minimum waiting time and minimum response time. So first come first serve is the scheduling, first scheduling algorithm. As the name indicates, the process which comes first to the CPU will be scheduled first. This is the algorithm, and this is where we have an example of all three process and their burst time. Burst time is the CPU or the process 1's response time to be given for CPU. So process 1 will take 24 times or 24 response time of a CPU for completing its execution. We have a Gantt chart which is represented for all these process scheduling. So the Gantt chart will always start with 0 and it will keep growing as the process burst time increases. Suppose the process has arrived in this format. The P1 is the first process to come and P3 is the last process to come. According to our algorithm, first come first serve. So which process has came first will be allocated first. So P1 is allocated first till 24 CPU time, and then comes your P2. P2 has 3 CPU burst time, so 24 plus 27, CPU is allocated to P2 at 24th time and it is executed plus 3, so 20 till 27 P2 was executing. From 27 we have P3 executing and P3's burst time is 3. So 27 plus 3 till 30th, the P3 is a process which is under execution. To calculate wait time for the P1, you have to see when it is allocated. For the P1, 0 is the time when it is allocated, so it was not waiting. P2 process was waited till 24 burst times and P3 was waited till 27 burst time. And coming to average waiting time from first come first service, addition of all waiting times by 3. So 17 is the average waiting time of the of the average is 17. So we'll see how, if we change the process, like the first come of the process is changed, like P1 came first and P3 next and then P1. So if we change the process how it came, then what will be the waiting time and average waiting time of the process. So the same problem here we are seeing it like the first process came as P2 has came first with 3 burst time, and P3 has came with 3 burst time at second place, and P1 came at last with 24 as the burst time. So since P2 came first and P2 got allocated at 0, it has 3 burst time, so it has executed till 3 CPU slots. From 3 to 6 P3 has executed, so 3 plus 3 is 6. Then after 6 our P1 came, like the process P1 got into execution, so it has executed for 24 CPU response time. So total execution time is 30. So if we see waiting time here, P1 has waited till 6. So P1 process has waited till 6, P2 has waited only till 3 and 0, and P3 has waited till 3 times or 3 CPU response times. So the average waiting time is 6 plus 0 plus 3, so it is 3. So sometimes if the process which came in the order has changed, if it is changed, then you can see like the average waiting time reduces to very short, in the sense if the short process has come first in the queue, or if it is scheduled first and the long process next, then the efficiency increases. So in the first come first serve, always the first come, like if at all this process which longer burst time comes first, then the efficiency reduces. But if the shorter burst time process are in the queue for the first, means first come process are shorter burst time, then the average waiting time reduces. I hope you understood the topics. Thank you.